Over 60? Discover 4 shocking carbs to avoid and 4 life-changing choices for incredible health. Charlie Thompson sat in his favorite chair, a relic from years of service. Its leather-worn and cracked, much like him. Each week, he watched his neighbors grill burgers, laughing children racing around at the block parties that defined life in Oakwood Springs. But behind the smile he wore was a heart heavy with unshed tears. He was a veteran, a man who served his country with honor, but lately, he felt like a soldier defeated in a fight with his own body. The battles of convenience food, quick meals that had filled his plate for decades, now became the enemy, leaving him with high blood pressure and fatigue that felt like a constant siege. He'd become a hidden casualty in a war he never thought he'd fight. "Dad, you need to come to the workshop at the community center," Jenna, his daughter, said over dinner one night. He met her eyes, filled with love and concern. Could he really change? It seemed impossible, as if trying to teach an old dog new tricks. But the way her voice shook with sincerity struck a nerve. If only his grandchildren could see him strong again. Wasn't it his job to show them that life was full of choices, even at 65? The workshop day arrived, and with reluctance, Charlie found himself in a crowded room. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Sarah, the nutritionist, addressed the group, and her energy was contagious. Charlie watched as she revealed secrets about common carbs foods he had cherished for years. He felt his heart racing, a mix of fear and exhilaration running through him. Alternatives, things like quinoa and sweet potatoes, were displayed like summer flowers, beautiful and inviting. It ignited a spark in him, a long-lost love for cooking resurfacing with every word she spoke. Just then, his mind drifted back to the VFW hall, his pals chuckling when he brought up healthy eating. "Charlie, you're joking, right?" They laughed, saying you couldn't change what you're used to. Each chuckle felt like a dagger to his chest. Did they even know that every joke had a grain of truth? But today, sitting among new faces, he felt buoyed by desire, shaking off self-doubt. Could he really prove them wrong? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the annual fall festival approached, Charlie knew he needed to shine, to gather the community like a bonfire, igniting their curiosity about health and life changes. He'd devote time to cooking up healthier meals for everyone to taste. But what if he failed? What if, standing before the town, he couldn't deliver? His mind raced with uncertainty and old fears. The night before the festival, sitting in the glow of the TV, his breath caught when he heard a voice he hadn't heard in decades. A familiar face, unexpected and electrifying, appeared in the crowd the next day. Suddenly, his hope surged in tandem with his anxiety. Would this connection change everything? Facing the crowd, he felt the weight of expectation pressing down. But more than that, he felt a fierce determination rising. He was ready to fight not just for himself, but for everyone who thought that growing older meant surrendering to the whims of life. Could he really do it? Only time would tell. Charlie stood at the edge of the festival grounds, watching families laugh and play. The joyful chaos around him felt like the calm before a storm. Lanterns swayed gently overhead, their warm glow casting a golden hue on the makeshift stalls. Each breath he took was tinged with both excitement and dread. This was his moment, or so he hoped. As he set up his own booth, trays of colorful dishes spread before him. Charlie couldn't shake the thought that others might see him as an imposter. Who was he to teach others about nutrition when he had fought against it for so many years? But then he remembered Jenna's words, her unwavering belief in him sparking something deep within. It was time to fight against the whispers of doubt that haunted him. As the festival began, people filtered in, their chatter rising and falling like a wave. Charlie caught snippets of conversation, kids giggling, friends sharing stories over funnel cakes. But when they approached his table, their curiosity turned into something deeper. "What's this?" one woman asked, pointing at the quinoa salad. "Just a little something I whipped up," he replied, a tremor in his voice. He watched them as they sampled his food. Nervousness dripped from him like sweat on a hot day. What if they frowned or pushed their plates away? But then came the smiles, the surprised gasps. "This is amazing," a man exclaimed, his eyes lighting up. With each plate served, Charlie felt the cloud of self-doubt swirling away, replaced by a growing pride. He shared stories of his journey, the battles he fought inside himself, and how he came to embrace healthier eating. Listeners leaned in, captivated. Perhaps this was more than just teaching, it was connecting. "Charlie, you made this?" Jenna appeared beside him, her voice thick with emotion as she took a spoonful of his famous sweet potato mash. "I am so proud of you." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket. He noticed the light of approval in her eyes, and it filled him with a radiant sense of purpose. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, a familiar laugh drew his attention. Glancing up, he saw Sam, his old buddy from the VFW hall, striding toward him. Charlie's heart raced. Would he still be mocking him, or had he come to support him? "Charlie," Sam shouted, his voice booming over the music. "You really went all in, huh? Is that quinoa? You used to think that was rabbit food." Charlie laughed, emboldened by the moment. "And what do you think? Looks pretty good, don't you?" The two men locked eyes, each recognizing the changes in the other. Sam took a bite of the quinoa salad and raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Not bad, old man. Not bad at all." The laughter sparked a warmth inside him. The tension melted away like frost on a spring morning. This festival wasn't just about food. It was about forging connections, bridging gaps, and proving to himself that change was possible. But just as he began to feel secure in this new role, Charlie noticed a group of old friends whispering. Their glances held a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. Were they proud or just confused? With that uncertainty lurking in the background, he wondered how far he could truly go. Could he be a beacon of change in a world often reluctant to shift? As the festival continued around him, Charlie took a deep breath, determination swelling within. Tomorrow, he would do it all over again. But he also had to ask himself, how far was he willing to push his limits? Little did he know, the next day would bring an unexpected challenge that might test everything he fought so hard to build. Would he be ready? As dawn broke, Charlie felt the weight of the day ahead press against him like a heavy blanket. He stood in front of his booth, the sun warming his back. The festival was buzzing again, familiar laughter lacing the air, but today's energy felt different, charged, electric. He detossed and turned all night, ruminating on the challenge he sensed coming. What would it be? Would old habits resurface, pulling at him like an unseen force? Or would he continue on this path of rediscovery, leaving doubts behind? "Hey, chef." Jenna's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She approached with 2 steaming cups of coffee, a bright smile on her face. "Ready for round 2? He took a sip of the strong brew, the warmth wrapping him like a hug. "I think so. Just hoping yesterday wasn't a fluke." "Trust in yourself, Charlie. You've got this," she encouraged, her eyes sparkling with belief. With a nod, he plastered on a smile and turned back to the festival grounds. The crowd was thicker today, and as people trickled toward him, Charlie's nerves surged again. He watched families stroll by, noting their playful banter and connectedness. Yet somewhere in the back of his mind, a voice whispered that he didn't truly belong here. But he shook it off. One step at a time, he reminded himself. He started handing out samples, and each small interaction began melting away his anxiety. Only this time, a few of the familiar faces from yesterday stood around him, encouraging others to try his dishes. The transformation was palpable, their laughter echoing louder, blending with the music in the background. "Try this one." Charlie made it, a woman shouted, her enthusiasm contagious. As he watched people taste his creations, a flicker of hope blossomed. But soon, amidst the laughter, he spotted the group of old friends again. They were clustered together, arms crossed, eyes cold. The whispers floated toward him like unwelcome smoke. "Is that really the best you can do?" One of them called out, a cynical edge to his tone. Charlie's chest tightened. He felt exposed, raw. Had they come just to criticize? Did they think he was simply playing a game? But deep down, the words lodged in his throat, and he felt a wave of anger rush through him. How dare they question his journey? "Everything's up for improvement, buddy," Charlie shot back, surprising even himself. Just like life. Their laughter faded, and he could see confusion etch itself into their expressions. A young boy nearby looked up at him, eyes wide. You're a chef? That's cool. Charlie's breath hitched as the boy's innocence washed over him like a balm. He needed that. Suddenly, it didn't matter what the skeptics thought. What mattered was that he was planting seeds of change. He believed in what he was doing, and that had to be enough for now. The day wore on, and as Charlie prepped for the evening, he felt a tide of emotion rising. His feet were sore, but his heart was lighter than it had been in years. It was exhilarating. But just as the festival reached its peak, an unexpected confrontation loomed on the horizon. Sam, who had been chatting him up all day, moved closer and whispered, "You know, some people still think you're playing pretend. You ready for that?" Charlie swallowed hard. His world felt like it was teetering on the edge of something monumental. "I guess we'll find out," he replied softly, determination settling in his bones. Tomorrow would be another test, but he knew he couldn't back down now. Not when he had come this far. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting vibrant colors across the sky, Charlie made a vow. He would not just stand there waiting for change. He would be the change. What would tomorrow bring? Would he fight for his place, or would the shadows creep back in? As the sun rose the next day, Charlie found himself in a quiet moment before the chaos of the festival began. He stood outside his booth, taking a deep breath of the crisp morning air. His heart still danced with the echoes of yesterday, the laughter, the encouragement, and the sharp sting of criticisms. Would today be another day of triumph, or would the whispers claw at his resolve again? "Hey, chef, ready to make magic happen?" Jenna appeared at his side, carrying 2 cups of hot coffee, the steam curling like hopeful dreams in the cool morning. He forced a smile, though inside he felt both excitement and dread bubbling to the surface. "I think so. Let us see what today brings." As the festival sprung to life, a familiar buzz filled the air. Laughter and music intertwined like old friends greeting each other after too long apart. Charlie set to work, arranging his booth with colors and tastes that reflected his journey. Everything gleamed and sparkled under the early sun, reminiscent of new beginnings. Once again, families roamed the grounds, taking in the sights and sounds around them. Children squealed with joy, chasing each other, while parents embraced the moment, soaking in the joy that surrounded them. Charlie felt some of that joy seep into him, but the nagging thoughts still lingered in the corners of his mind, the judgment, the skepticism. He began serving his dishes, each bite not just food but a story of resilience. A woman took a taste and let out a delighted gasp. "Oh my goodness, this is amazing." Her enthusiasm lifted his spirits, pushing away the negative shadows lurking behind him. Yet, there they were again, the group from yesterday, hovering not far from his booth. This time, he braced himself for their jeers, but instead, they seemed quiet, calculating. It was as though they were waiting for him to falter. "Looks like you're still pretending," one of them said, an edge of condescension woven into his tone. Charlie felt the familiar tightness in his chest, but chose to respond differently this time. "You can call it pretending if you want, but it's my passion. It's real to me." A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. Some customers paused and glanced at him, clearly taken aback by his defiance. A few nodded appreciatively, and Charlie's heart swelled with an unexpected surge of courage. Maybe today could be different days. He offered samples to new customers. Excitement buzzed in the air. An elderly couple approached, eyes twinkling with warmth. "We heard you have something special," the woman said. Charlie beamed, emotions spilling out like the contents of a well-shaken bottle. He handed them a taste, watching their faces light up with joy. "This is incredible. You're truly talented," the man exclaimed, and Charlie felt the weight of admiration lift the fog that had clung to him all morning. Amidst the clamor, a boy paused, watching him intently. He shyly approached. "Can I help? I want to make something too." Charlie's heart melted. "Absolutely. Here, hold this for me." As he worked alongside the boy, Charlie felt a connection being forged not just with the child, but also with the community. It was like magic, each small act building a bridge where doubt once stood. Time flew by, and as the crowd ebbed and flowed, Charlie's spirits soared higher. Each smile, every taste, pulled him further away from the judgmental voices. He was transforming, and he could feel the shift, but as twilight approached, he caught sight of Sam moving through the crowd with a troubled expression. "Charlie," Sam called out, urgency in his voice. You need to know what people are saying, it's not just them. Charlie's heart sank. What was happening now? The air felt thick with tension. Just as he thought he was gaining ground, another storm was brewing that he stood, uncertainty flooding his system. The whispers he feared were coming back, but this time, they felt closer, more real. What would they say? Would he withstand the rising tide of shadows, or would they sweep him away? The crowd began to blur. Charlie's heart raced, not just from the thrill of the festival, but from a fresh wave of anxiety crashing over him. The vibrant colors and laughter around him faded, replaced by a tightening grip of dread. What could they possibly say now? Did it matter what strangers thought? The question gnawed at him. Jenna, sensing his unease, reached over and squeezed his shoulder. Hey, you've got this. Just focus on the people who love what you do. Her words were a lifesaver tossed into deep waters. Charlie forced himself to nod, feeling the warmth of her support. Right. Just keep moving forward, he whispered to himself, channeling all the courage he could muster. Sam approached, his face a canvas of concern, eyes darting around as if searching for something he couldn't quite grasp. Charlie, please. You need to hear this. There's talk about your food. They say it's not authentic, that you don't belong here. They're trying to rally up the festival goers against you. The gasp escaped Charlie before he could contain it. His spirit, so buoyed just moments before, felt like it was plummeting. What do they know? He protested, his voice half a whisper, half a shout. This is my heart. I've put everything into this. I know, Sam replied. But you can't let them get to you. You're making a name for yourself, and that scares them. The more people who love your food, the tighter they squeeze. But you've got to rise above it. Charlie looked at Sam, something shifting inside him. You really believe that? Absolutely. Just look around. People are loving what you're doing. Focus on them. On the joy you're creating. Sam gestured towards the families surrounding the booth, laughter echoing like music. Taking a deep breath, Charlie weighed Sam's words like a heavy stone on a scale. Do I let their whispers drown me? Or do I fight back with the love I see radiating around me? The laughter, the joy, the connection he felt with every plate he served. Charlie straightened, chest swelling with pride as he turned back to his booth. He spotted the boy he had been working with, energetically offering samples to a group of eager customers. A little girl's wide-eyed smile flashed like a beacon. Come on, Charlie. We want to try again. The boy called, a simple plea that rekindled the fire of determination in Charlie's heart. Right. Let us keep it going. Charlie shouted back, feeling a surge of energy course through him. He stepped out from behind his booth, moving closer to the growing crowd, setting his sights on those who believed in him. Can I get everyone's attention? He called out, his voice ringing clear. The crowd turned, a wave of curious faces meeting his own. I'm Charlie, and I've poured my soul into these dishes. I'd love to share my story with all of you. As he spoke, Charlie felt the whispers dissipate into the background. Stories began to flow, tales of his journey, the struggles, the triumphs. With each word, he felt a sense of liberation wash over him. People listened, nodding, some even leaning in closer. But just as he shared his passion, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. The group from yesterday stood off in the distance, watching, their expressions unreadable. Charlie's heart raced at the sight. What were they plotting now? Keep going, Charlie. Jenna cheered, her voice slicing through the tension. You got this. His heart swelled at the encouragement. But deep down, he knew the shadows were lurking. Their whispers hadn't silenced yet, and as he looked back at Sam, who nodded fiercely, he realized he was at a crossroads. Would he keep pushing forward, raise his voice against the doubts, or would he let fear take over? Determined, Charlie looked up and smiled at his audience. We're only just getting started here. But could his rallying cry hold against the storm brewing in the distance? Would his truth be enough to silence the growing doubts? All he knew was that the real fight was just beginning. Charlie took a steadying breath, allowing his voice to boom through the crowd. When I first started cooking, it was just a way to bring people together. Each spice, each ingredient, tells a story. This isn't just food for me. It's my love letter to everyone who has ever felt a little out of place. The crowd leaned in closer, interest flaring like fireworks in their eyes. Faces brightened with understanding. He could feel the warmth of connection wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Charlie glanced back at Jenna and Sam. Their smiles shone with encouragement. and he couldn't help but return that joy, even as the group of detractors loomed like dark clouds on the horizon. Charlie continued, fueled by the energy he saw surrounding him. This dish is inspired by my grandmother's recipes. She taught me to cook with heart, to use each ingredient as a testament to where we come from. He gestured to his food stand, the colorful dishes arranged like the palette of a painter. When you eat this, you're tasting my journey. A woman in the crowd raised her hand. Can you share what's in that dish? She asked, genuinely curious. Absolutely. Charlie grinned, the question feeling like a gift. This one here is my twist on a classic. It takes traditional elements, but adds a little kick of my own. As he explained the ingredients, his passion sparked interest. The crowd murmured amongst themselves, some exclaiming how they could see their own family recipes woven into his story. But the group in the distance still hovered on the fringes, watching with narrowed eyes, their whispers not entirely quiet. Charlie's heart pounded louder now, a mix of excitement and anxiety. Could he trust this momentum, or would it all come crashing down? Then he saw a familiar face, Mr. Jennings, an older man from the community who often shared tales of the old neighborhoods. He stepped to the front, his presence commanding. Charlie. His voice resonated with authority. You've taken something beautiful and made it your own. That takes guts, my boy. Too many of us hold on to tradition without ever thinking about how to evolve it. Charlie's heart soared. If Mr. Jennings could speak up, then maybe he wasn't alone. Maybe there was hope in the crowd. Encouraged, Charlie spoke again. Food is like a bridge. It connects us, reminds us of where we've been and where we're going. We shouldn't let negativity tear that down. Suddenly, cheers erupted. Yeah, a voice rang out, followed by clapping from all sides. The moment felt electrifying, as if the whole festival pulsed with newfound energy. But Charlie's gaze still flickered to the shadows. The group hadn't moved. If anything, they were conspiring, their brows furrowed and hands gesturing frantically. Jenna squeezed Charlie's hand as the crowd swelled in support. You're owning this, Charlie. They can't bring you down. He took a deep breath, looking out over the faces lit up with excitement. This isn't just about food. It's about community. It's about love. He felt the words resonate like a heartbeat, each one echoing through the crowd. Yet, amid the cheers, one voice from the back of the group cut through the air, sharp and confrontational. But that doesn't mean it's good. The laughter faded, replaced by an electric tension that hung heavily around them. Charlie hesitated, caught between rallying support and confronting the doubt that lingered. He could feel the weight of the crowd's eyes on him, waiting, watching to see how he would respond. Would he let that voice drag him down, or would he stand his ground? The air around him shimmered with anticipation, and Charlie could feel the stakes rising. Who are you? Charlie finally shouted back, his heart racing. What defines good anyway? The crowd murmured again, and Charlie could sense the shift. Would they take his side, or step back into the safety of silence? As the crowd seemed to hold its breath, Charlie realized one thing. This fight was far from over. The real question now was, would he be able to fight against not just the whispers, but also the fear pulsing within him? Charlie's heart raced as the crowd's silence deepened. The murmurings that faded left an emptiness that felt daunting, but there was also something else, an undercurrent of hope. He took a step forward, letting the moment settle like a well-mixed batter, ready to rise. Food is about experience, he declared, his voice fierce yet warm. Everyone in this crowd has a story, and I want to hear them. Let's share our journeys. To his surprise, a man near the front, an artist with paint-splattered jeans, shouted back, I want to hear about your journey, Charlie. What makes it special? Exactly. Another voice chimed in. Tell us about the moments that shaped you. Charlie's smile widened. This was not just a crowd of faces anymore. These were voices craving connection. With renewed determination, he leapt into his story. My grandmother taught me to cook in her tiny kitchen, surrounded by the smell of spices and the sound of her laughter. Those times were sacred. It wasn't just about creating the perfect meal. It was about coming together. As he spoke, he could see nods of agreement ripple through the assembly. Sam was clapping. Jenna's eyes sparkled, and even the strangers who once dismissed him started leaning in, intrigued. Each word came alive, sparking memories for others, igniting shared experiences. Cooking became my escape. When my family faced challenges, I retreat into those flavors and let my heart guide my hands. He shared, each statement punctuated with emotion. Every meal holds the spirit of my grandmother, her wisdom, and her love. The murmurs returned, this time suffused with warmth and camaraderie. Charlie took a breath, the air tinged with the spices still simmering behind him. I want to create that same feeling for you, he continued, to make you feel at home even if it's just for a moment. Just then, the group of detractors shifted again, and Charlie's gaze landed on the one who had called out earlier. He crossed his arms defiantly, but Charlie could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. If he could just break through that wall, let me ask you this, Charlie challenged, locking eyes with the man. When did food stop being a way to connect us? Isn't every dish a chance to share love? The crowd reacted with gasps and whispers, some people grinning as they leaned closer, hungry for more. For that moment, it seemed the very air between them was charged with potential. The man hesitated, glancing at the sea of supportive faces around him. He lowered his arms slightly as sign, perhaps, that Charlie's words had started to dent his armor. Charlie seized the opportunity. We can have different tastes, but we shouldn't let that create rifts between us. If my food doesn't suit you, share your thoughts. I want to learn to create. Together, we can embrace diversity, celebrate flavors, and build a bridge. A ripple of applause broke out from the crowd, sending a wave of energy through Charlie. He could feel the momentum swinging in his direction, like wind filling a sail. Everyone was in this together, part of the recipe of his life, a mixture of flavors, a blend of stories. But the man at the back finally spoke, his voice low and skeptical. You say it's about connecting, but what if your dish doesn't fit my palate? A silence settled again, heavier this time. Charlie felt the tension thicken in the air. How could he address that? Before he could respond, Jenna's deep voice emerged. Maybe it's not about fitting one specific mold. It's the stories that matter. Encouraged by her bravery, Charlie thought of his grandmother again, her warmth reigniting hope within him. Exactly. That's the beauty of food. It's an adventure. It opens doors to understanding. His pulse quickened. The moment was expansive, filled with possibilities. The faces around him glimmered with anticipation, ready to absorb whatever came next. But just as he gathered his next words, a chilling shout rang out from the back of the crowd. Enough of this. It's just food. You're wasting everyone's time. Charlie's heart dropped, but determination surged. Would he crumble under this latest attack or fight harder for the connections he sought? The air was thick with expectation. He took a deep breath, preparing for the battle ahead. What he did next could either sink or sail his vision of community and love. Would this be the moment that defined him and his dreams? Charlie stood there, feeling the weight of the crowd's eyes on him. Doubt crept in, gnawing at his confidence. How could he turn around this situation? This wasn't just a speech. It was a plea for understanding, a call to embrace the messy, beautiful convergence that food could inspire. Taking a step forward, he focused on the skeptic. I know it might seem like just food to you, but let me tell you the moments we spend around a table, sharing meals, that's where life happens. His voice was firm, resonating with the emotion of his memories. Food can bring people back home. It can soothe a heavy heart, celebrate a victory, or simply connect two strangers. We often underestimate its power. More murmurs floated through the crowd, some curious, others still doubtful. The artist with the paint-splattered jeans leaned slightly forward, hope glimmering in his eyes. Jenna smiled encouragingly, her belief infectious. Charlie continued, taking heart from their responses. Think back to that meal you shared with someone special, maybe a holiday dinner or a bustling dinner rush at a restaurant. Remember those flavors and the stories behind them? That's what I'm talking about. It's more than just eating, it's about sharing ourselves. With every word, he felt the energy shift. The crowd was no longer just a barrier, but a bridge. He glanced back at the naysayer. If you think it's just about taste, you're missing the whole point. Let us break bread together and forge connections. Then, as if stirred by a hidden truth, an older woman at the front spoke up. I remember my late husband's favorite recipe. She smiled softly, and the crowd seemed to gather her warmth. He'd light up every time I made it. It always brought us closer. Cheers erupted. People shared their stories, laughter danced in the air, and Charlie felt a wave of relief wash over him. This was it. The community was alive, pulsing with life and shared experiences. The man in the back, still stoic, began to lose his rigid stance. Was he beginning to thaw? Encouraged by the woman's story, Charlie seized the moment. Exactly. It's not about the perfection of a dish or whether it fits everyone's palate. It's about the sincere attempt at connection. Let us embrace imperfection and explore each other's stories. The applause that followed was thunderous, a melody of encouragement that surged like a breath of fresh air. Every clap and cheer shimmered in his heart, filling him with determination. But then, tension gripped him again. What do you think, friend? Charlie directed his question to the skeptic, drawing him into the circle. Is sharing not what makes us human? Are we not all flavors of our own? The man hesitated again, his brow furrowing as he considered Charlie's words, and for a moment, hope flickered in Charlie's heart. Would this be the nudge he needed? Would walls come crumbling down? Suddenly, Charlie realized he couldn't leave things here. He had to do more. Let's have a tasting, he exclaimed, excitement bubbling to the surface. Let us create a communal dish where we all contribute a mashup of our stories and cultures. Who's in? The crowd roared in agreement, voices blending into a harmonious chorus, but Charlie's gaze was on the man in the back. What about you? For a heartbeat, the crowd held its breath. Would he join this journey of sharing and discovery, or retreat back into a shell of resistance? The answer hung in the air like the aroma of warm bread, thick and inviting. What would he choose? Charlie's heart raced with anticipation, ready for whatever might come next. But in that charged moment, the man opened his mouth to speak. The skeptic's voice cut through the tension like a knife. Why should I trust you? He asked, his brow knotted in doubt. You've spoken well about connection and stories, but words are easy. What proof do I have that this will actually matter? Charlie's heart sank, but he refused to let it show. Determination coursed through him. You don't have to trust me, he replied, taking a small step toward the man. This isn't about me. It's about us together. You've lived your own stories. You know the power of meals around a table. The man shifted, glancing at the crowd. They were leaning in, anticipation painted across their faces. But what if it's just a mess? He countered, his voice low but rising with emotion. What if I get it wrong? Then we get it wrong together, Charlie insisted with a smile. But let us try. We can do it right, or we can learn. Isn't that life? A silence enveloped the crowd, the kind of stillness that felt charged with possibilities. Charlie met the man's gaze, hoping to convey sincerity. Life is messy, and that's okay. You'll never be alone in this. After a long moment, the man's mouth twitched into a cautious smile. All right, what do I need to do? The applause erupted again, but this time with a sweeter note, as if the collective sigh of relief could be felt through every clap. Let us start simple. Charlie cheered, his voice rising again. I'll bring the base of the dish, a time-honored recipe passed down from my grandmother. Then, each of you brings a story and an ingredient that means something to you, a representation of your journey. Let us create together. He gestured toward the crowd, who buzzed with excitement at the idea. One person shouted, I can bring my grandma's famous salsa. Another yelled, I'll bring spices from my mom's curry. The older woman with the fond memory chimed in, I'll make my husband's favorite pie. The crowd was alive now, voices merging into a cacophony of stories and laughter. And there, in the heart of it all, was the skeptic, beginning to share his own tale. I suppose I could bring some barley. My family would always have it during the fall harvest, he said slowly, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. Charlie felt a rush of joy. Walls were breaking, connections were forming. Yes, that's it, he exclaimed. Barley, just like every ingredient, has a story. Together, we'll turn this into something unforgettable. The crowd erupted again into cheers, and Charlie felt buoyed by their enthusiasm, powered by hope. He was witnessing a transformation, one that started with him standing alone, but now rippling outward in every direction. This was a community coming together not only to share food, but to share hearts. But as the excitement built, a fleeting worry wormed its way into Charlie's mind. What if they couldn't connect once the tasting began? What if, despite their efforts, the stories still felt fragmented? Before he could ponder further, a child from the back raised their hand. Can I help too? A wave of laughter flowed through the crowd as adults exchanged glances, realizing how far they had come since Charlie first took the stage. Laughter filled the room, creating a rhythm of belonging. Of course, let us make it a family affair, Charlie said, his heart soaring. This will be for everyone. As the crowd began to disperse with newfound energy, Charlie's gaze fell back on the man who had once stood apart from the rest. He saw a flicker of something hopeful in the man's eyes. Would this truly lead to stronger bonds? Whatever lay ahead, Charlie knew they were on the brink of something beautiful. What kind of stories would emerge when they all gathered? And more importantly, how would his own understanding of connection grow through this communal experience? The air was thick with possibilities, and Charlie's heart raced, eager for the next step. What unexpected journeys awaited them all when they finally sat down to feast? As the sun set over Oakwood Springs, the festival thrummed with life. Families bustled about, laughter and joy intermingling like spices in a pot. Charlie's booth stood at the heart of it all, a vibrant tapestry of colors and aromas that seemed to invite everyone inside. He had forged connections, shared meaningful moments, and now, unity was blossoming all around him. Let us make it a family affair, he had said, and true to his word, families gathered at the booth, hands reaching for ingredients, eager to contribute to a dish that would join their stories, their flavors, into something magnificent. Grab that celery, a mother directed her son, who dove for the crunchy stalks as if it were gold. A group of teenagers argued playfully over who would bring the spicy peppers, while Charlie chuckled at the sheer enthusiasm radiating from every direction. And then, there was the man who had once questioned him. Now he stood among the crowd, sharing barley with a shy smile, their shared laughter woven together like finely spun thread. Charlie felt a warmth wash over him. This was community. This was love that as they gathered their ingredients. Stories flew around like confetti. Each person contributed tales from their heart. An older man reminisced about his grandmother's vegetable garden, while a young woman shared how she first learned to cook alongside her parents. Charlie absorbed these moments, realizing that each ingredient had a story of its own, and they were unveiling a bigger narrative as they blended together. Okay, everyone, gather around, Charlie called out, excitement coursing through him as he prepared to lead their creation. Let us mix this all together. Remember, this isn't just about flavors. This is about who we are. With a swirl of laughter and anticipation, they began mixing the vibrant ingredients into one giant, shared bowl: barley, spices, roots, even a dash of laughter. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. The aroma wafting through the air was a testament to their shared experience, a taste of connection. As they prepared the dish, Jenna squeezed Charlie's hand, her eyes sparkling with pride. See what you've started? She whispered, beaming. Yes, but it's not just me. It's all of us, Charlie replied, joy permeating every word. And when it was finally time to dig in, the crowd formed a wide circle, each person clutching a plate, filled with the summer-colored dish that now represented their countless stories, their experiences. Everyone, this is our creation. Let us feast. Charlie raised his voice, a blend of authority and warmth resonating through his call. With first bites came applause. Cheers erupted like fireworks bursting against the dusky sky. This is amazing, they shouted, smiles spreading like sunlight across every face. The flavor danced on their tongues just as the stories connected their hearts. But in that moment of undeniable triumph, Charlie felt something more profound. He had transformed not just as a cook, but as a man who embraced vulnerability, who recognized the strength in sharing and lifting one another up. Charlie, Charlie, the crowds chanted, and as he stood there a beacon of joy, he knew he had fulfilled more than just a personal journey. He had united a community. For the first time in years, he felt free of the burdens that once anchored him down. The judgment, the fears, all of it faded into the background, replaced by laughter, connection, and the heartfelt belief that they each had a place. As the night draped its velvet cloak over the festival, Charlie glanced around at the sea of smiling faces. Old friends, new connections, and even the former detractor, his eyes shining with admiration, all gathered around him. Seasons change, but this moment, steeped in shared stories and newfound friendships, was timeless. This is what it means to be alive, Charlie thought, as he raised his own plate in celebration. Let us continue this journey together, he declared, and the crowd roared in agreement, knowing that together, they would create many more flavors and memories, one meal at a time. And that was the true magic of food, not just flavor, but connection, transformation, and growth. Now, as you've journeyed with Charlie, imagine what stories will unfold next. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for Charlie's transformation. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this remarkable journey. True fans know how important these actions are.